Welcome to today's collective reading. There's been some very intense energies that have been coming through. It's a sense of judgment coming down, as well as judgments being carried out, as well as recognition, empowerment, very heavy sense of worries, fears, anxieties being very heavy, present, weighing you down like you're moving through molasses, just sapping your energy. This being something that is being blocked, removed, healed, judgment and sentencing being carried out on a spiritual level. Okay. This reading is going to be channeling definitely for many different levels, layers, dimensions of energy, and for many different individuals in the collective. But we will be working more with the 3D aspect of presentation in the daily lives of the collective as these energies interact with us while we move through our daily lives, where we still have to adult, we still have to go to work, we still need to go to the kids' soccer games, or we have family functions, community events, we still have to do our daily lives. So for the first placement, this speaks more to the element of earth. So what is solid, immovable, quiet, observing, knowledge? What is silent but knowing? Okay. In this position, we really have the iconography of the Ace of Pentacles. So you have the lamb and what is typically represented as a woman, and she's saving that lamb. 44 may be a number that has significant meaning to you, between you and synchronicities you've been consistently seeing in your environment. Breaks down to the number 8. So there could be a mirroring effect between you and something external to you. It's a sense fatigue, tiredness, a little disheveled, a little worn out, a bit of a sense of really, I can't do another step. I'm so tired, but I'm not putting down this lamp. So in the more assertive energies, which I will speak to what typical readers consider masculine in their terms. I just find it's very challenging to move past the gender labeling within it. So I label that energy more assertive energy. And we all have assertive energy in us, regardless of gender. And knowing that to interpret these messages, first start with the dynamic within the self and then look for it reflected outside of you, because what happens within you reflects outside of you. Like you're the center of where the pebble entered the water, and there's that rippling effect out from there. Okay. So in the assertive energies, that fatigue is definitely present. You've been paying so much attention to the detail, discerning what is and is not deceptive, what is actually helpful to bring into the future as knowledge of deceptive energy, and what really does need to be left behind. What will not serve you in the future in a positive way, knowledge-wise. So this is what's been making you feel a lot like you've been moving through this heavy molasses, is being aware of so much, both of the positive and the negative, the higher vibe and the lower vibe, higher dimension, lower dimension, discerning the difference between illusion and reality, illusion and truth, love and deception, malicious intention. There's deception. It's not of love. It's not of light. It's low vibe. A lot of times, what you'll see with this, especially with this fatigue that's present, part of that fatigue is because you've been being triggered and emotions wear you out. So you've been discovering each and every one of these deceptions. You're tired. You're worn out. Your legs won't support you anymore, but you're not putting down that innocent lamb. And the receptive energy is present within the element of earth. Be silent to know what is immovable, what is unchangeable. There's a bit of a resistance present. However, because you're stubborn, you're strong, there's a reason you've been chosen to walk this path. You are not of weak will. When you do own something, you own it with all of you, because it becomes your truth. And this is so close to you, not just as an individual, but as a soul, as a being, as a consciousness, a higher self, the observer. There's been resistance to this, almost as though it's a strategic move, that you have been putting that resistance to collapse off as long as you possibly could. Part of it is, change is scary. Looking to divine and saying, I surrender to your will at this time. At this time, I trust that you know the answer, that you know. And I don't. I trust that you know, that you will care for me at this point, that you will not be cruel, you will not be unkind, that you will be of the highest love, the highest light, that I will be surprised and overwhelmed by the support coming through from you at this point. I have gone as far as I can without needing that, without needing to surrender to you. Very, very stubborn in this. So change is something that is scary, especially when it's changing to something you don't know and you don't understand, leading to a kind of a rebirth of the very close connection relationship with divine in this space. And every step along the way, every moment, every thought, every feeling, every dream, you are not alone. Divine is within each of us. We are as one divine. So the divine is fully aware of everything up to this point, even the alternate timelines and the different decisions that you made. You have also been left with the perception that you don't know what's behind door number 2. You know what's behind door number 1, but you don't know what's behind door number 2. And this is something that you come to plenty of times. They seem very black and white in their presentation. But you know about the different shades or hues present within the scale of the 2 extreme colors of black and white. There are many different mixings of the 2. And you're not sure what's behind door number 2 because it's not illuminated yet. The door isn't open. You don't know. But you trust the divine. So when you do open that door, it will be the divine reassuring you as you open that door. And you don't know what you're going to encounter. Because the other option is one that you know, but it's got a lot of illusion in it. It's got too much of the lower vibrational energies throughout it for you to be comfortable choosing that, because you know you'd be choosing illusion. And you're too stubborn for that. If you're stuck with door number 1 or door number 2, you're going to trust divine. You're going to trust the divine. Trust the divine over lower vibrational malicious energy any day. Any day. Okay. Moving into the element of air, which is to know. To know. Study, knowledge, Akashic, past lives, anything that comes through you in dreams, from your spirit guides, from your ancestors. Any of that inheritance is present here in the to know as well. Here it's definitely an opening of the third eye fully, in balance and in union with, like the earthly realms. Like the balance between masculine and feminine, literally, with the icons that I'm seeing on this particular oracle. It's the marriage of like Avalon and the Green Man. It's really an owning of the union within the self. You're sovereign within self. You govern self. You own self. You own your free will. You know your free will. You have learned through observation. You've gained the knowledge from observation of your connection to divine. And that everything had its reason, even if it hurt and you didn't understand it at the time. I'm not saying it makes it okay. But I'm saying your decision to choose to survive, to heal, to overcome, makes you that spiritual warrior. To choose the what's behind door number 2 that hasn't been illuminated, but know that your karma, your dharma is really on the other side. That divine has always had a plan for you to reach this moment and stand in your power with divine, knowing divine is within you, and the good, high vibrational things lie before you because you're strong enough to be that tool, that channel for that now, because you know yourself. You're sovereign within self now. In the assertive energy, there's that taming of that inner ego, that inner beast, really, that feels like it must always be in fight or flight, ready to defend, that everything is a threat. There is that taming in that not quite the best word for it. I would go more for a soothing, like you're the healing balm. That relationship, that connection, that awareness of the connection to divine, to that truth. The love is the only thing that is real. That light coming through has allowed that part of you to kick back, relax a little bit, not be constantly vigilant. And to know that whatever energy that did initially come out in the earth placement of the number 4 and that turning into 8, which is present here, is 8 as well, which is 16 breaking down to 7. If you're into numerology, if these numbers mean anything to you, let them be a synchronicity, a confirmation. But it speaks to that energy that's present within you that's being mirrored outside of you, whether it's within a family member, a friend, a romantic connection, a project, a creation, that is also present within this placement, with this soothing being mirrored. And it's bringing in like a reliving of all the best moments, the brightest times, whether in this lifetime or other lifetimes. It's a reliving of that connection you've always longed for, you knew was always possibly missing until you encountered or will be encountering this energy. It's a reliving of this. It's a calling back to what is true, what fits in a way with you that nothing else can. No other being, no other soul can. This could be something that they consider to be, and I don't like using this term. I don't, because there is a mythology that when you own it, that it's possible that you could be agreeing to that mythology when you say, oh, this is this connection. I prefer to use a term that I've only encountered once, and it's called divine union. There is a mythology around twin flame that implies that you'll never actually be in union, and that is not something that I encourage anyone to own. I prefer to use divine union. So for those that feel that reciprocation with another person in particular, it could be a divine union connection, not only a soulmate, but literally the other part of one soul, seeking to fully and more fully experience self by incarnating in 2 individuals. In the receptive energies, we have that bit of the infinity, the 8 symbol on its side, that reciprocation present. There's a lot of calculations, and it's like the spiraling deeper and deeper into the subconscious and discovering what is there. And as you discover what is there and you solve challenges, if you will, doing air quotes there, it's more of a learning how to work with the human subconscious and how to master that. That is a challenge. And humans have developed technologies over thousands and thousands of years that they have passed down that have helped with this. At this point, it's pretty much be receptive to going within. Sit in meditation. Sit with not going through a guided meditation. Just sit and let what comes come. If it's only a minute or two that you could do that, that is huge. If you're someone who can do this for, half hour, 2 hours, if you're capable of doing this while you do other projects, other things like cleaning, it's an invitation to say that to really maintain this foundation, this needs to be something that you do to just kind of take care of yourself, to maintain that strength of connection, to being receptive to self, to divine, as well as to what is needed going forward in whatever endeavor that you are called to co-create with divine with. The reason is because there's going to be a lot of different options along your path, a lot of different avenues, and you may not always see the deceptive energies present within these possible paths until it's too late and you've already committed to that path, and then no one wants to regret a decision that they should have, could have. No one wants to live with that. So to be receptive to going within, to hearing that guidance, to knowing what it feels like when divine speaks, the difference between the manipulative energy, to maintain that sharp edge, to fully understand, consistently reaffirming that awareness between deception and truth without necessarily having to go through all the trials and tribulations that led to your awakening or your second awakening. To maintain that sovereignty, that union with divine in self, you'll need to be able to really hone that way of connecting with yourself. Mindfulness, meditation, to be really aware of what's going on around, to receive those messages, because divine does not necessarily speak in English. Divine will speak in symbols and numbers and sensations and memories and dreams and animals that you encounter when you're in the wild or even in the heart of a city. That is a very clear signal if you see a wild animal in the middle of a city. And it happens. It happens. To know that divine union. Okay, so we're going to move into the element of fire, which is to will. This is a lot of where your emotion, your drive, your passion, what matters to you, what you are desiring to experience, what you have been longing for your whole life. Remember that piece of you that you have always known was missing. And then nobody else quite seemed to have that experience. And then you encounter this energy, this person that reciprocates or mirrors you, right? And you know. Okay. So that has been something that you were aware of before you even knew the words for it. You were aware of it. So you've been calling that in from the moment you have had like the first concept of what existing was as an individual consciousness. Very strong manifestation there. In this, it's it really does highlight that there is this connection between you and the divine, you and your higher self and the divine. You've always been getting guidance from your future self, which is a little more how I relate to my higher self. My higher self has already lived this moment that I'm living. She already knows the best path to get where I want to go because she's living the life that I will live. That's why I'm so trusting of the guidance that comes from my higher self. I don't see her guidance as competition for my life. She's one of my greatest allies. She's even closer to divine than I am because she's lived through all these things that I'm living through now that are bringing me closer to divine. In that trust, in that foundation, in that awareness. In the assertive energies present within the fire placement, you have such an innocent, childlike, overwhelming amount of emotion and joy and vulnerability. And once that part of you feels completely safe, in a lot of ways, this part reminds me a lot of the lamb present in the first card in Earth. That you were not willing to abandon this part of you. It's very similar to the image of the lamb and like the little girl or the little boy with the pentacle that's being offered in the Ace of Pentacles. So I'm seeing a correlation, a connection between the lamb and this innocent childlike aspect within you that is just so pure. You're not willing to abandon this part of yourself, even if it means you can't continue work, even if it means that you will collapse early from carrying the weight. You will carry that part of you as long as you can, and then you will collapse together. Sorry, I'm sitting with the message here with this other clarifier here for the assertive energy. It's a resistance to allowing this part of you to fully express itself. This part has been protected so much by you, but also by the divine aspects, the energy present. This part has remained so innocent and pure by design. There have been a lot of protections in place to keep this part of pure light. But this resistance is not something that will last forever. This is not really supported at this point. This resistance to not sharing this part, it's not being supported at this time. It's being kind of, with the lack of support for allowing it to stay resistant to being shared, it's being forced to come to light, being forced to be shared. The emotions, the feelings, they're coming to the surface and they can't be ignored because they're so pure. And they're so true in that because they are pure love. And the receptive energy, there's a bit of a distrust to the romantic feeling to it. It can feel almost flighty, and a bit of, there's a bit of a fear of being perceived that way. That these emotions, these feelings, are going to be perceived as shallow and superficial and inconsistent and flighty. That it won't be perceived as owning the decision to fully jump in. It'll be perceived as, oh, it's one more time that this, comes in, and it's great for a little bit, and then, well, then they kind of flake out, or the energy kind of flakes out. There's the truth present here is that this is how this message is needing to be shared with you, that there is that fear that they won't be taken seriously. This energy will not be taken seriously, that you will not be receptive to the vulnerability present in doing anything assertive towards you in a receptive way. Then it won't be taken seriously, and thus will be taken for granted. So if I were to really tie it together here with will, there's an opportunity right now present within you because of where you have been in your shadow work, because of what you know of self, what you understand of where you're going, that there's a decision that needs to be made, and it needs to always be one that you defer to love. Because if it's not of pure love, then there's going to be malicious, negative, lower vibes present. And why would you choose that path knowingly? You're at that point where you can choose pure love. So the concern within your will is whether or not you choose to be excited or to label it as anxiety. There's a flip side to every energy, to every emotion. And in this particular case, there's a lot of energy here that could lead one to own, should they so choose, that this is not a legitimate opportunity, that there is not an option for healing here, that this is just another one of these things that has been happening and it's not going anywhere, so why take it seriously? There is a legitimate concern that in the process of surrendering, that you will also surrender taking this seriously, this manifestation seriously, the emotions, the feelings seriously, to also consider that innocent emotion, that pure emotion, is not necessarily going to be refined or mature in its expression. To try to find that energy deep within yourself in these situations as well, and try to see this from that energy's perspective as well, would help you to be able to determine how best to proceed, even if you need a moment or two to just really sit with that. Thus, the need to continually connect and be receptive and be aware of that intuition coming in. Because your challenge here in your manifestation is to affirm that you're not going to choose to see it as superficial or fake or disingenuine. You're going to choose to really look at what's being presented, and you're going to take it seriously, and if in nothing more than the time you give before you react or respond. So you react and respond exactly how you want to, how you intend to. And that sends a very strong signal that you are taking this seriously, which will allow a lot of this anxiety that may be being experienced to flip into one of confidence even more. And Then we will move into the element of water, which is to feel. You have a very strong discerning eye and you read energies. You don't need tools necessarily to understand what's going on. You may not always know why you know these things, but you know them. You would bet your life on them. But if you were to ask to quantify why, you wouldn't necessarily be able to give a logical answer from a human only perspective, from a 3D alone perspective. But it's a definite, you feel this connection, this intuition. In the assertive energies, there's a very strong sense that you're very strong with your boundaries, but others may not know exactly where they are. You're balanced and you're going somewhere, but others don't know necessarily where you're going. And with this, there's the card that's here is the wheel. It has turned, you are balanced, you know the direction you're going, you are able to work with and be aware of both light and dark energies, high vibe and low vibe energies, malicious versus love and light. And you have the flower of life behind you. And you're willing to take that chance and you're balanced. You're balanced on this. You have a lot of thought behind you, a lot of awareness, a lot of knowledge. And you have the sky and the stars behind you. You have your sky ancestors aiding you, your spirit guides, divine. And you know that you have boundaries, and you don't necessarily know where they are either because they haven't necessarily been bumped up against yet for you to be able to express where they are. But you're looking forward to sharing that. You want that opportunity to share that. It's just you don't allow just anybody to reach those boundaries. But you want those boundaries to be reached by certain people, certain situations, certain energies. You want to share where those boundaries are. Not because you want to deny access, but because you want to be respected for that boundary and be affirmed that you are respected for that boundary, that you are valued even more for having that boundary. And any energy that comes close enough to be able to discover that boundary has already passed every possible checkpoint. Not test, checkpoint. A lot of the things that are checkpoints are not ones that are tests that you would be setting up for an energy. You have ancestors, spirit guides, divine, angels. They're doing a lot of this without you necessarily having to consciously be aware of it. All you need to say is, I give my spirit guides permission to act for my highest good. And if you say that every day, you say that multiple times a day, once a month, or for you, maybe once is enough, like it's a permanent thing. They are doing what they're doing on their end, so you don't have to try to find a way to get that affirmation on your side. If this energy is able to reach your boundary to discover it, they've already gone through all the checkpoints to get to the boundary to find it. So there's a leap of faith present both within you as well as externally. There's a confidence in the direction that you're going. But with this consistent theme of, 4/4 888, the reciprocating energy, the divine union, possible relationship that is coming through for some of the collective. This is something that neither one of you really knows, because you're both going to be surprised by what divine has created for both of you as a way of showing love to you, for your faith, for your love for divine on this path. A lot of those things will be things present in one another, but there'll be also things present because of the connection. Just as like a default in the 3D, the opportunities that come about in life because you choose that path. Now, before I started this reading, it was very clear to me that there were a couple of cards that were wanting to come through pertaining to gateways. It would be coming from the Gateway of Light Activation Oracle deck. All right, so I'll just let Divine draw a card. Okay, so we have the Merkaba activation. So the Merkaba is a very potent symbol to work with the self. There is a meditation, guided meditation that I have on my recently played list on this page. I would invite you to check that out. There are many different guided meditations you can do just to really get a feel for working with the symbol. You don't necessarily need to do the meditation to connect with the symbol, but the symbol itself, it elevates your energy as well as only energies that are of that level can communicate with you. If you're going to do any kind of astral projection, like shamanic journeying, channeling, telepathic communication, anything like that, it is a very wise decision to pull on the Merkaba and like kind of place yourself within the Merkaba. Because why not? Why not? Why not protect yourself? Why not raise your elevation? Why not have that peace of mind? Paired with that is also the inner earth, which speaks to the physical, the sense that you are safe, that you are strong, that your foundation is unshakable, it is firm. Connection with Gaia, which this is definitely a reading at the beginning I stated was more about the physical life that we're living right now, moving through, and how we're coping with this very spiritual aspect to our reality that not just anybody can relate to or that you can communicate with just anyone about, and they'll be supportive. And it's so choice that at this moment I noticed the name of this card, which is Star Gathering. It's you're not alone.